Great. Next, we'll move on to minutes. Next we'll do proof of notice and note that proof of notice was adequately given. Next, we'll move on to minutes and approval of minutes from the September 17th Board of Directors meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes carry. Next, we'll move on to committee reports, and I will give a very brief update on the Finance Committee meeting, since I believe all of the topics discussed will be discussed during the new business portion. So just to note, we had 2 Finance Committee meetings since our last Board of Directors meeting, the first being October 7th, and then immediately preceding this board meeting. The topics discussed were Stereopharma LLC, a request from the representatives of the company to review status of the project, and we'll give an update later in the agenda on that. Next, we had a request from the Downtown Committee of Syracuse to extend the existing 2-year agreement to fund evening and weekend downtown security personnel and maintenance costs. That request was approved in the Finance Committee meeting and will be before the full board today. Next, permitting process software implementation. The City of Syracuse's permitting office put in a request for funding for a contract with an outside vendor to provide upgraded software and technology improvements to assist the city as it moves forward to improve and streamline the permitting process. The Finance Committee approved that request, and that will be before the full board today. The next was a meeting with the Commissioner of Neighborhood and Business Development for the City of Syracuse to review a request for funding for Syracuse Build. That, again, will also be on the full agenda today, and that was approved by the Finance Committee meeting. And then finally, at the October 7th meeting, there was a review of the 2020 SIDA budget that we asked for some additional changes to be made, and subsequently at the October 15th board meeting immediately preceding this, the Finance Committee approved the budget for 2020. So that is all with the Finance Committee. Is there any questions from the board? No? Okay, great. Now we'll move on then to new business. Judy, the first order of business is 300 Spencer Street.
Yes, good morning. The first item on the agenda is 300 Spencer Street LLC, which is a limited liability corporation owned by the principals of Bankers Healthcare Group, which you may have seen some press on it this week. They have come to the agency for an application for a project that they propose at 300 Spencer Street. It is the former Student One bus garage. The company proposes the demolition of the existing buildings on that property and the construction of a 5-story, 100,000 square foot office building with associated covered parking structures and additional parking to accommodate 500 cars to locate the local corporate headquarters of Bankers Healthcare Group. The cost of the project is estimated at close to $40 million. The company is requesting benefits from the agency in the form of a mortgage sales tax exemption valued at $200,000, a sales tax exemption valued at $800,000, and a pilot agreement utilizing the agency's priority industry schedule. The value to be determined, which we will have that information for you by the next meeting. The assessor needs to review it. The company currently employs 256 people in Syracuse. They project a minimum of 250 additional new jobs as a result of this expansion. We are thrilled to have them in Syracuse. And today we have Jeremy Calley from the company to speak to the board briefly about it. Jeremy? I'm sorry.
And this is Tom Douglas as well.
Sorry, Tom Douglas, I apologize.
Judy, you want me here?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Appreciate you guys very much for having us on today. We're excited about this project. Bankers Healthcare Group started locally in 2001. It's actually a great local story. Al Crawford is a local guy and had gotten into business with two brothers, Bobby and Eric Castro, down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Al traditionally had been a finance guy, and they began originating loans primarily for medical professionals for capital working projects for them to start businesses. To date, since 2001, Bankers Healthcare Group's originated over $5 billion in loans nationwide. We work with over 1,000 partner community banks all over the country. And there is 256 employees here in Syracuse, as Judy had mentioned. There's about 250 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and another 35 down in New York City. But Al's a local guy, and he wants to grow the company here. Currently, we have employees. We had built a building a few years ago, if you remember, on 201 Solar Street. By the time that building was done, had already outgrown it. So 201 Solar is full. We are now in the firehouse, the JGB firehouse right across the street. We're also at 115 Solar. We're filling the whole bottom floor behind Freedom of Espresso there in Franklin Square. We've also now taken 2 floors above Suds Factory and Armory, the 4th and the 5th floor, and we are currently looking for another 10,000 square feet to put employees because we're growing so fast. We've hired 100 new people. And we are continuing to grow at a rapid pace. And, frankly, Al's paying rent all over the city, and we need our new financial headquarters. He wants it to be here in Syracuse, wants to continue to grow the company here in Syracuse. And so we're proposing, as Judy said, a 100,000 square foot, 5-story. It would have a 20,000 square foot footprint, and each floor would be 20,000 square feet. Beautiful looking building. Hope there's been some media on it, have an opportunity to look at some of the renderings that have been put out. King & King Architects is designing. We also have a local general contractor, Parsons McKenna, to build the building. They built 201 Solar as well, and it would be right on the corner of Solar and Kilpatrick, facing the Inner Harbor there. Be a really beautiful gateway into the Inner Harbor as people come down Kilpatrick Street or Solar. And so we're moving fast. We're ready to go and excited about it. Any questions for us?
I see you're also, Jeremy, you're also doing a parking garage?
Yeah, we've proposed, how many square feet is that? About 6,000 square foot attached covered parking garage. It would be a little over 30 spots under that particular area. It would also be a nice area for us to comply with some of the regulations, to have the bike racks and things like that. And that would be attached to the building. It would also give us the ability down the road for a phase 2 to expand up on that parking structure for more office space. And I would think we're going to have a nice green space and outdoor patio area that flows down Solar to our existing property at 201 Solar. Because I would imagine by the time this is built, we're hoping by fall of 2021, I'm thinking we'll probably not lease 201 Solar. We'll probably still need that. And we also have our gym on that property for the employees. So the parking garage would kind of walk along that path.
So all of the space you currently have, you have some here, some there. Are you anticipating moving all of that and consolidating it into the new building? With the exception of 201, your existing building, the other spaces?
Yeah, with the exception of 201, we don't own any of that. We're just renting 115, the firehouse, and above Suds Factory. So we would consolidate all those departments to this building. That'd be the goal.
And you're not including those jobs in your 250 new jobs?
No, there's currently 256, and I think it's conservative with our growth trajectory right now to say in the next 5 years another 250. I think that's conservative.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jeremy, can you tell me about what the salary range is for these people and what they're doing and such? And
Yeah.
what are you employing?
These are high-paying jobs. They're very good-paying jobs. Right now, we have a huge sales department here, a marketing department here, our funding department that works on the underwriting and funding of the loans, our accounting department, CFO, chief accounting officer, and their whole staff is here. We have a lot of business development. One of the most exciting things about our business is the analytics department. The analytics that we do, I don't totally understand, but it's remarkable. And we have HR here. These are all, particularly sales, very high-paying jobs. We're talking the sales guys obviously have incentives in terms of meeting numbers, but those are 60s, 70s, and higher. Probably our top sales guys are making 6-digit salaries. Particularly our leadership staff in the sales department does very well. So these are the majority of them are not entry-level 30, 40,000 jobs. The majority of them are 60, 70, $80,000 jobs.
What's the skills that typically that these new employees would need? Associates, baccalaureate, master. What sort of post-secondary education would they need, and in what types of areas are you particularly looking for?
Sure. I think most of the growth is particularly going to be in the front-end sales. And so actually the education level varies there and is not necessary to have a high education level, just really the skill of being a salesman and being in there and having the potential to make a decent living without having the full undergrad. But we also have a pretty large and growing marketing department that's all here. It's not in Florida. It's all in Syracuse. And a lot of those are skilled jobs, folks that have marketing experience and education in that regard. Really good size accounting department with those types of education and skills to, controller and accountants. And in terms of the analysts, those are more highly educated folks. So we're growing kind of education type jobs, marketing, accounting, and we're also growing in the sales department where education's not as big of a issue.
Would it be possible for when we have the public hearing to maybe see a breakdown a little bit more of that?
Absolutely.
And talk to your HR department to see what are the types of skills that would be necessary so we can kind of have an understanding with the number of jobs that
Al's mandates is he hires from all the colleges, Brandon, Stratton, all the way to Syracuse to Colgate. He believes in hiring locally. And one of the main reasons, quite honestly, is him not taking the company to Florida, because he had two partners in Florida, their corporate office was in Florida, is that he felt like the intellectual capital in upstate New York is far superior than what it is in Florida. He just said people work harder here. And I don't know if it's because of our winters or maybe it's our upbringing, but we're a blue-collar town and people, the work ethic, he believes is far superior. So he hires locally. And I just want to say to the payroll, the average job probably salaries anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000 and above. The payroll right now at BHG is about $13 million. By the time the new office is finished, he expects it to be close to $30 million. Yeah, these are well-paying jobs. And the nice thing, and this is what we shared with the mayor, is the reason he didn't go to DeWitt, because we entertained the thought of going to DeWitt. DeWitt was courting us to come out to the county, is he got a lot of pushback from his employees because they're all young millennials, and to them, that's like being in the country. They want to live downtown, they want to work downtown, they eat, they thrive downtown, so it's a perfect fit. So not only do these people work down, but they're occupying a lot of the apartments and buying housing in downtown Syracuse. So it's a win-win all the way around.
Absolutely. And yes, we can get that breakdown. We've actually done that, and I didn't bring it here today, but we do have a breakdown for you. We'd love to show that.
That would be great to hear at the next.
Definitely.
Any other questions? All right.
Sounds like a great
I just want to
program.
confirm you own 201 Solar.
Yes, we do.
Same partners.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the thought initially was to maybe vacate 201, but because I was involved in 201 when we got the pilot on 201, and I can thank the mayor. The mayor was actively behind the project, and his support was muchly appreciated. But the fact that we outgrew 201, we couldn't park it by the time we opened the doors. I fully anticipate the second phase of 300 Spencer will be underway, because I think that he's going to quickly outgrow that building too. He threw a number out the other day at the groundbreaking. If I'm allowed to
It's a big number,
this,
sure.
It's public. He said 5,000. He thinks before he's done that BHG will employ close to 5,000 people here. They're also an SBA lender now.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I'm going to turn this over to Sue. We need approval of two resolutions.
So the first resolution in the agenda is a seeker lead agency resolution. Because of the size and scope of this project, it constitutes a type 1, so we would like to appoint the agency as lead agent for doing a coordinated review with the other involved agencies. So you're not taking any action other than to appoint yourself so that we can start the process to complete the seeker review.
I'll entertain a motion for SIDA to be lead agency.
Make
So
a motion.
Go ahead, Ricky.
Sorry, make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The resolution carries.
Thank you. The next resolution in your agenda with respect to this matter is the resolution authorizing a public hearing. So even though we heard from the company today, you have not approved anything, you haven't agreed to undertake the project, you cannot do that. So this authorizes the public hearing. Prior to the public hearing, which we anticipate will be next month, Judy will have posted the information regarding the pilot, so you have the full analysis to be able to analyze the project.
I'll entertain a motion to approve a public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution carries. Sue, going on to Sterry Pharma?
Yes. So, as you alluded to from the minutes of the Finance Committee, Sterry Pharma was a project that was undertaken back in 2018 to renovate their manufacturing facility. It was, in addition to doing, what they were going to do was create a new, really, manufacturing line. They were awarded state and local sales and use tax in the amount of $712,971. They were awarded a mortgage reporting tax of $378,000 and a 15-year pilot, which over the course of the 15 years, had they completed the project, they would have saved just under $695,000 would have been the benefit. Sterry Pharma has maintained ongoing contact with the board and staff to advise them of some delays in getting the new line up and running. They are waiting on their supplier or purchaser, I guess, vendor, to, if you, for lack of a better term, pull the trigger in terms of reaching a certain commitment level for purchasing the product. So they have done as much as they can do at this point to upgrade the facility before they actually invest in putting in a new line of production. In addition to that, there was a component of this to fix a retaining wall that also lined the creek wall. They did that immediately upon coming to the agency and being approved to do so. So they have fixed the retaining wall. They have gone on to do as much as they can do without actually installing the new production line. They have not utilized any of their state and local sales and use tax. They have not taken advantage of the mortgage reporting tax because they haven't actually done the big project yet. Their pilot has kicked in, but they are getting no benefit from it because they haven't constructed anything that would be subject to the abatement. So they are paying real property tax as if they were not subject to a pilot agreement. They anticipate being in a position by March 30th to know if the project will be a go. That they are in regular contact with their European buyer, and they are hoping to be able to continue and complete the project. They have asked us to allow them to just kind of maintain the status quo. The board met in the Finance Committee, and it was determined that keeping the status quo does not harm anyone. They can't utilize their state and local sales tax because their appointment technically has expired, so the award is there, but they're not using it, and they can't. They are not using their mortgage recording tax exemption, and they cannot without the board's involvement, and the pilot is a wash. They are just paying full property tax. To do anything other than maintain the status quo right now might have a negative impact on the buyer being willing, because they're looking at the production and what the costs are going to be, and all of it is part of their financial package. So we are asking the board to allow them to maintain the status quo. They will report back to the board in December, and then again at the end of, I think, February, to let you know where they are in terms of those negotiations. If they are at a point, the recommendation to the board is if they are at a point where they can actually commence and pull the trigger on completing the project, we would allow them to go forward and ask the board to modify the start time, push the pilot for 2 years. So they get the same benefit period. They don't get any additional benefits. It's just that it doesn't start until their construction period ends. They would continue to pay real property taxes if privately owned during that period of time. So there's no harm to the city or the taxpayers. And then we would reappoint them as our agent for purposes of taking advantage of what was previously awarded, and they could then utilize the mortgage recording tax. In the event that they are not able to move forward by that time, The board would then consider terminating the relationship and allowing them to come back if, in fact, they were in a position to proceed at some time in the future. So that is the recommendation in your resolution.
So, the resolution, as it's stated, is a resolution authorizing the agency to enter into an MOU with the company in connection with the project.
Right, and the MOU would do pretty much exactly what I just said.
I'll
In
entertain
terms
a
of,
I'll make a motion.
second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution carries.
great, thank you. You want me to go on?
Yep, super.
The next resolution in your agenda is a request from the Addis Building LLC for an extension of their appointment for purposes of completing the project and utilizing the sales and use tax. They were originally awarded $222,890 in state and local sales and use tax exemptions. They have used just under $40,000 of that, leaving about $183,000 unused exemption. Their project was delayed for any number of reasons, permitting process, some construction delays, some financing delays. They are ready now to proceed, and they anticipate being done sometime in 2020. They're not exactly sure when, so they've asked us to extend through the end of 2020, so December 31st of 2020.
But there's no additional cost associated with this extension?
None whatsoever.
Okay.
No additional financial assistance.
No, okay.
They'll pay your fees for
Okay.
filing the papers.
So with that, so the resolution approving extension of the terms of leases between the agency and the company up and through December 31st, 2020. I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Ken's got the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution carries.
Great, thank you. The next resolution in your agenda is for the 300 Washington Street LLC project. It's the exact same request, except a shorter period of time. So this is the project right down the road. They were appointed as your agent for purposes of completing the project and benefiting from the state and local sales and use tax that was awarded. They have remaining $761,000 in state and local sales and use tax exemption. Their original appointment as your agent expired on the 1st of this month, so they recognized that and came back. They're asking for an extension through April 30th of 2020, so the first quarter or so of the year. The delays are the extension is as a result of delays related to both their steel contractor and some weather-related delays, but they are now positioned to complete the project, and so they're asking for a brief extension. No additional financial assistance is being requested.
Okay, so did you have any questions? Okay, so a resolution approving an extension of the sales tax appointment for 300 Washington Street LLC as agent of the agency till April 30th, 2020, retro back to when it sunsetted September 30th?
Yes.
October 1st? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution carries.
Thank you.
Judy, Downtown Committee of Syracuse?
Yes, okay, the next item on the agenda is the Downtown Committee of Syracuse Service Agreement. We have two requests here. They currently have an agreement that is in effect it was in effect through September 30th of 2019, excuse me. And they did not use the balance. They've left a balance in that of approximately $136,000. And they're asking the board to repurpose $8,800 of that towards some additional, a portion of it, to pay a portion of some additional security cameras. Then additionally, and I should have said the Finance Committee met on this and met with Merica Trier, who is the director. Additionally, they are requesting an extension of that agreement for an additional 2 years at a cost of $146,000 annually to pay for downtown security in evening and on weekends and some maintenance at the same time. Merica is here. If you would like to talk to Merica, you may come up.
Happy to answer any questions.
Merica, I have one. How are you, first of all?
Good, how are you?
Good, I'm doing well. During our interaction and experience at Center State, we discussed some of the opportunity just in terms of the downtown committee working staff, the positions that we're hoping.
Yep.
How have things progressed with some of the diversity involved there? I know some of the positions, for example, that we're doing the flowers and so on and so forth. Is that all part of that weekend maintenance aspect as well?
It is not. So this service agreement pays for evening and weekend security, so we hire retired law enforcement personnel.
Okay.
And then it pays for 2 part-time maintenance positions,
Okay.
one of which is still open.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So, any other questions for America? Okay.
It's actually two resolutions.
Right, so is the first one for, which one are we doing first?
First one is to repurpose the money for the camera at
800.
Right.
Yeah,
$8,891.
And 91.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve that resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That resolution carries.
And this,
The second one is for the extension of.
Or new, right.
For the
We're
new
probably
con-
going to do a new agreement, but
A
it's
new
the
agreement.
same.
yeah.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That resolution carries.
Thank you.
America.
Thank you, Merica. Okay, the next request, and this was also discussed at the Finance Committee, and the committee made a recommendation to approve it, is we have received a request from the City of Syracuse, the permitting office, for software implementation. The permitting office and the city in general has been working to improve our permitting process. And they have requested funding in the amount of $100,000 to upgrade software, software that they need for certain functions that they do. Jake Dishaw from the office is here to discuss it a little bit further for you.
Thank you. Good morning. Jake Dishaw, Director of the Central Permit Office. More specifically to what Judy was saying, is this is an ask to help us implement a new permit management system and also bring in electronic plan review. So to transition from paper to totally digital, our IT department has already spent some capital money and ordered touchscreen monitors for our plan reviewers. So we've already kind of prepared to start to go digital with the hardware, and the second piece of that would be the software needed to actually look at these plans in a digital way.
So
how is this allowed?
So the purpose of upgrading the permitting system helps to promote economic development in the city of Syracuse. There is a huge backlog for people trying to get through the permitting process. No offense to Jake. It's just, he walked into it. So this system pretty much brings the city into the 20th century, and it allows project applicants to be assisted and facilitate the process by going through in a timely manner. That is the hope. And so we are partnering with the city through a memorandum of understanding or cooperation agreement. The city is budgeting for the services going forward. We are a stopgap. They have already been working with Camino, which is the company, to design, and tell me if I'm using the wrong words.
Nope.
Design the program. They have been working closely with the city to understand the city's processes as they exist now, identify the problems with it, and create software that will address that. So what we're hoping to achieve are people that we see before this board, individuals, anyone who needs to go through the permitting process. What they do now is they bring in 1,000 rolls of paper and they deliver them to person A, who then proceeds to stack them with everybody else's 1,000 rolls, and somebody gets lost. And now we have to bring them again. And they go from person A to person B to person C. What this system will do is it will all be digital. You can be sitting in your office, Steve, you're the developer, I'm sitting in my office, we're both looking at the same drawings at the same time, in real time, and as I'm marking them up saying, you need to Okay, I'm making stuff up now because I do not
No.
do this.
No, that's, you keep going, you're spot on. It's like the Google Docs of plan review. As you edit something,
That's how it works.
So as I'm drawing on them and saying to you, oh, these parking spaces need to be moved 6 inches to the left because they are encroaching on some easement, you're seeing me draw that. So you can just fix your drawings and resubmit them. And then Jake's seeing them at the same time as the DPW guys are seeing them, as fire is seeing them. So everybody's looking at the same thing. I'm not looking at an old set of drawings while Jake's looking at an updated set. And so we view this as right in the same lane as SIDA, to promote economic development, to make things work in the city for the benefit of the people we all serve. So that's
Bravo, Sue.
I don't think I could have said it any better.
And Jake, this is the one that we've spoken about many times, about this is going to be exactly as she explained, right? This is going to take away that process where 6 weeks after we've had people to the board and we say, oh, the architect's drawings need to be changed. Now it's another 6 weeks from there. This is something that now you can look at within a timely manner and they can make the changes and it doesn't have to go through that process, correct?
Yeah, I mean, as Sue stated, we could be on a conference call looking at monitors on a screen. You could make an adjustment to something in the matter of minutes, where right now the process and the time it takes to just resubmit paper and then route that to different departments, just saving on that time alone is going to shave off weeks, in my opinion. But we hope to improve beyond just that. But at a minimum, just eliminating that process of, you have to make new drawings, then you have to print it, then you have to bring it in, drop it off. Now we have to route that back out to everybody else. They review it, get us our comments, then we get back to you again. It's just, all of that's going to be combined into one centralized location and make it a lot simpler.
So how will you approach training, both for end users and your staff as well, and is that part of this contract?
Certainly. We haven't picked a plan review software yet, but the permit management system will train our staff and external users. Part of the contract with the digital plan review companies will include training for internal staff and external applicants, and that's pretty normal for these companies.
Any other questions? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution to support this request. Second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution carries. Next.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Syracuse Build Initiative. The agency has received a request from the Center State CEO Foundation to allocate funding in an amount of $100,000. The initial request was annually for the next 3 years to fund specific training costs associated with Syracuse Build Initiative for the residents of the city of Syracuse. Specifically, they asked us for funding to fund specific activities that are listed in the memo. $80,000 towards work readiness and academic remediation, and $20,000 for participant stipends. Stephanie Pasquale, who is the director, the commissioner of community and neighborhood and business development, is here to talk a little bit more about it. I should say that the finance committee did review this request and determined that they will fund it. Determined that the recommendation to the board of directors would be funding for this first year at $100,000 with a report back on a quarterly basis to see how the program is working and to see what benchmarks they've achieved. Stephanie?
Good morning. Good morning. Happy to answer any questions, but we're really excited to get this off the ground. And an incredible amount of planning and building partnerships has gone on over the last 18 months to get us where we are today, and we're really excited to really bring this to scale and get started.
Stephanie, one of my concerns, I think you and I have met and discussed this in person. Obviously, the outcomes of the program. I noticed that there will be some specific monitoring in and around quarterly reporting. Can you tell me more about what you anticipate receiving from that quarterly reporting in terms of those outcomes?
Sure. We're looking for several degrees of benchmark. How many folks are enrolled into different training programs, how many complete those programs, how many are placed in employment, and how many continue in employment for at least 6 months. So those benchmarks, so obviously at the first 4-month mark, we're not going to have the same results as we would have at year end, but we have a sort of system set up for folks to report. As you all know, we monitor similar programs through the Community Development Block Grant, so we have a pretty robust reporting and monitoring system in place in our office, and we would certainly help SIDA with that level of monitoring. Additionally, the City of Syracuse supports the Work Train program currently through CDBG or the Block Grant. So as part of that ongoing quarterly reporting and monitoring, we have a pretty good and regular handle on how those things are going.
I guess more of my concern is the efficacy of the programs that are currently already in place. When I look at the historic imbalances, for example, of the trades, this is another construction program. The disconnect for me is that we've got an abundance of these work training programs, but we have one person of color ever in the history of Syracuse with a license in the master trades. So we've spent millions of dollars on these programs. Again, the efficacy is my concern. What are the actual outcomes? And even though we have more than 30 workforce development agencies, yes, they place folks through these training programs. Yes, they sit in the classroom. The conversion is we have one person of color in the history of Syracuse with a master license in the trades, and that's since 1964 when the civil rights legislation passed. So my concern again is in allocating more funding to these programs without any real viable outcomes for the community. Yes, the programs work great in terms of the folks that they support that administer the programs, but what are the real outcomes there? And I really hope that with this quarterly reporting, we're really digging into what would be a benefit for the community in terms of again, construction-related programming for me is not working, and the sheer numbers that are there tells us that it's not working. We have one person of color with that license in that field. Maybe it's time that we review other programs that could help out.
No, that's a great point, and Ricky, I'd love to talk with you more about the different bins or buckets, how we're tracking success. And I will say that part of this effort has been a pretty extensive research project, not just about how many folks aren't employed, but where the jobs are, what types of employment. Construction is an incredibly broad field. So to date, we have trained, we have a pilot going, and we have placed 24 people in employment, 19 of which were employed for 6 months or more. 95% are African American city residents. They're all city residents, and they're in a variety of construction placements. So there are some pretty great jobs right now that go unfilled, particularly around property management. Some of our larger property owners, Christopher Community Housing Visions, Greenland Properties, the Syracuse Housing Authority, those are benefits paying jobs that they have unfilled. Housing Visions has 15 property management positions open right now. So that's one sort of track, is that, how do we get folks in those positions? But I think it's an incredibly fair point in how we look at those career track placements, like with the trades. So the trades has definitely been at the table so far, and they're just such a key component to this, and how it works with the trades portion of the HOPE initiative is all part of thinking through how do we get folks in that pipeline, how do we get them to stay, how do we pay people. As you saw in here, I think it's pretty new that we're paying stipends during the training program, and that's an incredibly important component. We train people to death, but you still got to put food on the table. You have to, take care of things at home. So we're trying to work on this again is a pilot, but we're trying to work on more sustainable options on larger scale, like with CMY Works and others, to make sure not just that we're having these wonderful training experiences, but that we're actually paying people as they go through the process.
I'm very comfortable with your hands on here. I hope that there's some degree of oversight that remains within your office. I know we've had some personal conversations with you looking to advance exactly what you were saying. So hoping for some success there. Again, just wanted to express the concerns overall around the outcomes there.
Stephanie, would it be possible within maybe the first 3 months of implementation at a finance committee meeting to have the program staff talk about their outreach efforts as well. In addition to the outcomes piece, it would be helpful to have an understanding of how they're reaching out to populations across the city of Syracuse to make sure that there is broad engagement that I think Ricky is talking about there.
That makes sense.
No, that absolutely, I mean, no, we'd be happy to, anytime to come in and have folks
Well,
talk about how that's going.
We'll have a note, I'd like to make a note, Judy, that we'll have sometime within the first quarter a finance committee meeting in which that would be presented.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie.
Any other questions? Okay.
So I will entertain then a motion to approve the resolution authorizing for the, is this in 2019 or 2020 budget? This is for the 2020 budget, correct? 2020. The 2020 budget.
Yeah.
The resolution approving the $100,000 for Syracuse Build with quarterly, and we will note that they will receive quarterly updates in addition to have a first, sometime in the first quarter, having an update on the outreach efforts as well as the impact.
Absolutely.
Great.
I'll make a motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution carries.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is a Brownfield Assessment Coalition Agreement. The Greater Syracuse Land Bank, SIDA, and the agency were awarded cooperative agreements from the EPA to complete brownfield assessments for properties located in the city and the county. They were awarded $450,000 for hazardous substance funding and $150,000 for what they refer to as petroleum funding. There is no cost associated to the agency with this. Basically, our role will be to develop the potential sites that we think should be investigated. And to give you an idea, almost all of the sites that have been chosen up to this point are actually in the city of Syracuse. There really are only two that are in the county, and these are the potential sites. Valley Drive, there's a site on South Avenue, Consolidated Industries, the former Consolidated Industries building on Seymour Street, a favorite, the Winkleman site, and another favorite on Greenway Avenue off of Teal Avenue, Cooper Graphics Building, the Patrick's Cleaners Building in the Holly Ave area. There are a couple sites in the Washington Square area, and then, as I said, two large sites that are in the county. But at any rate, hopefully the activities that will be funded, they're looking to do phase ones, 14 phase ones, phase two environmental assessments, possibly some surveys, hope to come up with specific cleanup plans for at least 6 of the sites and reuse for 3 of the sites. That would be what the funding would be dedicated to. So, as I said, the only thing that we would be asking you to do here would be to approve an agreement, to approve the agreement so that we can participate in this.
So the resolution authorizes the executive director to execute and deliver the Brownfields Assessment Coalition Memorandum of Agreement for the grant period from October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2022, and to negotiate, execute, and deliver an agreement with the Greater Syracuse Land Bank.
So the second agreement is simply because under the Brownfield agreement that was provided by the EPA, the land bank takes lead role. They are appointed to that position and they have obligations to comply with the agreement on behalf of all the participants. So I just thought it would be a good idea for SIDA to have a direct agreement with the land bank that they have agreed on behalf of SIDA to undertake those obligations.
Does this cover cleanup costs, or their costs are not involved? This 450 and 150 does not?
I don't believe it includes cleanup costs. I believe it includes investigative costs. So to do the phase ones, to do the surveys, to figure out what the cleanup plan would be, but they don't actually do. I don't believe they
put the plan together and everything.
Right.
Yeah, this would not be the cleanup costs.
So the goal is we're going to have the so-called final list of brownfield properties and what it would require to, if you acquired that property, to have it build ready,
Right.
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And can I just clarify just one thing you said?
Yes.
When you say the final list of, it's only going to select certain, it's not
I don't
every.
mean
You didn't mean every, right?
I didn't mean final, like there are no others.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
No, I just wanted to make sure.
So they're going to identify certain properties and investigate those?
Correct.
Right.
There won't be no additional cost aside of that?
Nothing, zero. We have, I mean, it will take staff time because the land bank will come to, the staff and say, I need information on this parcel. Can you do this, this, and this? But there is no financial cost to the agency.
So just, why is the land bank the lead agency?
I think they took, I think they took lead on doing the application
I was
for the
going to say,
grant
the land
funding.
bank took the lead on applying for the grant, and it was actually kind of a feather in everybody's cap that we got this grant. The EPA has only awarded several of them across the country, and so this was really a lot of work. A lot of work went into it, not by me, but a lot of work by other people have gone into getting this grant, and it really is going to be a benefit to especially the properties in the city of Syracuse. I'm sure that list that I just read to you, you're probably familiar with some of them, if not all of them, so.
Okay.
It's a real benefit.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution carries. Finally, the adoption of the proposed 2020 budget. John?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met last week and again earlier today. After review, there were some revisions proposed and incorporated into the budget here before you. The committee recommended its approval, and we seek that now.
I will entertain a motion to approve the
Motion.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution carries. Do we need executive session
Yes, brief
in regards
Discuss
to?
the acquisition of property.
acquisition of property.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session.
Make a motion.
Second?
Second?
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask Stephanie Pascal to stay for a minute.
We'll ask everyone else to please.
2 seconds.
Yep.